Mets have returned home to summer, or some semblance of the summer solstice anyway, which is certainly welcome given all the rain and chilly weather that we'd had here leading up to the recent road trip. And so the double dip about to get underway. Our umpire lineups for game one are brought to you by NAM, National Arbitration and Mediation, the most timely, cost-effective way to settle your legal disputes. And a couple of vacation replacements are among those four. Paul Schreiber, who will work the plate, Ed Montague at first, C.B. Buckner at second, the latter two being regular National League umpires, and Greg Gibson, another of the vacation relief, is around at third. Not necessarily certain that Schreiber or Gibson will even work the second game, because a couple of veteran umpires are on their way to town and might very well be available to work game two. But Bobby Jones will simply hope that he's as successful and effective as he was in San Diego last week. Tonight he'll face the Cincinnati Reds. Let's look at their lineup. John Nunnally will lead off in right field. Barry Larkin finally starting to come around offensively as at shortstop. Dimitri Young in left, Ed Taubensee behind the plate. Brett Boone at second. He and Willie Green with 7 homers apiece. Reggie Sanders in center. The rookie Sean Casey at first. And Brett Tomko on the mound. So the first of two is underway at Shea, and Jones' first pitch rides high for ball one. John Nunnally in right field these days, as Jack McKeon has done some shifting in his outfield, particularly to get Dimitri Young into the lineup on an everyday basis. That ball's hit well to left center. McRae to the wall, and that ball is gone. A home run for John Nunnally on a ball that just kept carrying and carrying to give the Reds an instant 1-0 lead.
And ordinarily when a ball goes over the fence, the outfielder just comes down and goes back to his position. But that ball went over the fence, and Brian McRae came down talking. That ball had McRae talking to himself as the ball just kept carrying.
Bobby Jones just offered an almost perplexed look to the outfield as Nunnally picks up his third home run and 12th RBI. Barry Larkin takes a strike. It's taken Larkin a while to build that .254 batting average. As you know, he had surgery in spring training, or you might remember he had neck surgery early in March.
It really set him back. Injuries have set back his career. But if he is consistent for the next 4 or 5 years, he'll end up in the Hall of Fame, batting .299 career-wise.
Listen to the slump that Larkin went through recently. He was in a 2-for-44 funk. And last Wednesday, there was a rain delay, and he was so distraught at his lack of hitting, he went to watch some video. And he hits that one well to right field. Husky grabs it for the first out. But since the video, Larkin has been able to turn things around.
Third, number 25.
One out. Dimitri Young coming up.
Want to see some video of a home run? Well, here's John Nunnally taking a ball that's up and out over the plate. And ordinarily you figure he got under his ball and popped it up to center field, but that ball got up into the sky and just kept on carrying over the fence.
Fouled away by Dimitri Young.
How about the change for Dimitri Young as you look at John Nunnally? He said, I hit that ball, I knew it was gone. I mean, how many left-handers you see take a ball out over the plate about letter high and hit it over the left center field wall?
1 ball, 1 strike. Dimitri Young, an outstanding season so far offensively, and that's the key word with him. Basically, he's playing left field because he's not a real good defensive player. And Olerud comes up with a dandy defensive play. And gets Bobby Jones, hits Bobby Jones for the 3-1 putout.
And speaking of defense, the Mets with 25 errors in 39 games. Baerga with 2 errors at second base today. He's joined in the infield by Olerud, Ordonez, and Alfonso. Left to right in the outfield, Gilkey, McRae, and Husky. Castillo behind the plate. How about the play by John Olerud going to his left? A fine play. Bobby Jones comes over to cover first base. What we didn't see right there was Edgardo Alfonso coming across the infield to back up the play.
1 ball, no strikes to the league's leading hitter, Ed Taubensee, as you look at the numbers on Bobby Jones. 2-0 now to Taubensee. And he's handled Bobby Jones well over the course of his career, also going 10 for 22 against him.
The only question mark about Taubensee with the Reds was his defense.
Well, the Met defense is shifting Taubensee towards the right side of the diamond. Remember, they overshifted against Barry Bonds in San Francisco over the weekend. And now Ordonez, the shortstop, almost behind the second base bag. And the second baseman, Carlos Baerga, way over into the hole against the left-hand batter.
And career-wise, he's hammered Bobby Jones.
3 balls, 1 strike.
Well, Taubensee has really improved his defense by working with Harry Dunlop, the third base coach with the Reds.
That's hit hard but foul. It's a full count.
He's always had a nice swing. I know the Reds a couple years ago or last year were unhappy with him because he was slow with his release to second base. He has a strong arm, but teams were just running at will on Taubensee, and now he's throwing runners out and he's a lot more comfortable behind the plate.
It'll be a payoff pitch to Taubensee. And Taubensee broke in with the Houston Astros.
And if you're going to catch for a manager, the best in the business is Jack McKeon. Jack will second guess you, but he won't allow anybody else to do it.
Should say Taubensee broke into the National League with the Astros. They got him from the Cleveland Indians, and there's a man who has managed Fran Healy. Fly ball, right field. Husky towards the warning track, and the side retired. So Bobby Jones gives up a leadoff homer to John Nunnally. Middle of the first, Reds 1, and here come the Mets. Last of the first inning here at Shea Stadium. Brett Tomko, the impressive 25-year-old right-hander, will face this Mets lineup, featuring Brian McRae leading off, Alfonso back in business at third, followed by Olerud, Husky, Baerga, Gilkey, Castillo, Ordonez, and Bobby Jones. And Tomko's first pitch swung on and missed. He's got a good, hard sinking fastball, and you just saw it.
Fastball, slider, change. Every now and then we'll mix in a curveball. Has good stuff and has really come into his own in such a short period with the Reds.
That's hit hard, but right to Casey.
In this first inning, there have been some bullets hit off both pitchers. Tomko, that's his first batter.
13, third baseman.
Of course, good to see Sean Casey back healthy also after being seriously injured in the eye not long ago.
Looking at Brett Tomko's record, he's got 16 wins in his very short major league career. Starting last year, halfway through the season.
And Edgardo Alfonzo takes a breaking ball from Tomko. And Alfonso's first game action since May 3rd.
When I saw Edgardo Alfonzo before the ball game, I said, "Are you in there for the first game?" And he had a puzzled look on his face, and he said, "First game." And they said, "Well, that's right, we have a doubleheader."
Well, you know, he's been on the disabled list. Probably hadn't looked at the schedule too much. But it was a strained right rotator cuff, and a lot of it had to do with the way he slept the night before. At least that's what he was saying about 10 days ago, and I talked to him about it. He said it felt so much better 2 or 3 days later that he feels now it was more a matter of just having slept wrong than anything that he did specifically with a throw. And there was one off-balance throw that he made in that game against Colorado on the 3rd of May.
But it wasn't that far off balance. I mean, he's made
flat-footed.
Yeah, he's made those throws a lot. I would say he probably heard it sleeping. Bobby Valentine doesn't care as long as he's back.
And the sinker downstairs. So a full count to Alfonzo.
It was just a few days after the Mets put Alfonzo on the DL when he said he felt good enough to play.
That's hit in the air to right field. Nunnally settles under. And there are 2 men away. 2 out, nobody on. John Olerud moving in.
Number 5.
And take a look at the Reds defense. Green with 6 errors at third base. He's had trouble throwing the ball. He's joined in the infield by Larkin, Boone, and Casey. Left to right in the outfield, Young, Sanders, and Nunnally. Taubensee behind the plate.
John Olerud, 9th in the National League in batting at .347 coming in. And that's on the outside corner for strike 1. Mets and Reds meeting for the 6th time this year. Mets have won 3 of the previous 5. And this is it for the season series. This 4-game series incredibly 0-2 now to Olerud. By Thursday, close of business with the Reds, the Mets will be done with Cincinnati without having faced division rivals Atlanta, Florida, or Montreal so much as once. Fastball missed, 1-2.
I wonder if baseball will take a closer look at that schedule in the future.
The Players Association would like to before they give the go-ahead on interleague play again. It's a negotiable item. And this is the last year of the 2-year experiment. And that might very well be one of the sticking points before getting approval for next year. That's grounded to short. Larkin hasn't played perfectly, and the side retired. So Brett Tomko, off to a good start, gets the Mets in order. One of the books, 1-0 Reds. Second inning here at Shea Stadium. The Reds scoring in the first on a John Nunnally leadoff home run. This is the first of a doubleheader. Scott Winchester will pitch the nightcap for Cincinnati. Brian Bohannon for the New York Mets. And then tomorrow night, Dave Malicki faces former Met Pete Harnisch. Masato Yoshii will pitch for New York on Thursday. Reds aren't sure about their starter yet, but they are sure that Brett Boone has turned a corner offensively. He's struggling lately with only 4 hits in his last 25 at-bats, but he is off to an excellent offensive start.
And they love him defensively.
Jones hits the outside corner.
He decided after last year to work hard during the offseason with his favorite batting instructor, Bob Boone, his dad, who now works with the Reds. Whoa.
That's hit well to left. Gilkey towards the wall. And Gilkey puts it away with little room to spare.
Well, looking at Nunnally's home run, you figured that that ball had a real good shot at getting out of here. Alberto Castillo out talking to Bobby Jones. And flag has nothing to do. The no wind here at Shea Stadium, and Nunnally's ball just exploded out of the ballpark.
It's humid, though. Now tell me about the humidity and how that influences the travel of a ball.
Look at that flag.
Well, that's why I say if you watch the center field flag here, you can be misled. 1-0 to Willie Green. The flags that top the light stanchions there give a lot of the hitters more accurate gauges than looking at center field because of all that open space in center field. And the winds tend to swirl here rather than go in any one either predictable or discernible direction. 3-0 to Green.
Well, Willie Mays said this is one of the more difficult ballparks to play the outfield. And if it's difficult for him.
3-1 now to Green. Willie Green has struggled against Bobby Jones, only 2 for 18 against him in his career. And the breaking ball runs the count full.
Earlier in the year when we saw the Reds, Green was struggling with his throwing. But again, if you play for Jack McKeon, he'll try to relax you. He won't say, you got to throw that ball across the infield. He'll joke about it.
Ball 4, and the Reds have a 1-out base runner. So Jones issues the walk to Willie Green. Reggie Sanders will be next. Boy, for a while it looked like Reggie Sanders was going to blossom into one of the premier outfielders in the entire National League, but injuries have really taken their toll on him, and he's batting 7th now. He was hitting 8th when the Mets were in Cincinnati last month.
He's had a lot of trouble with his back. They say he's too muscular in that area and is prone to back spasms.
A muscular swing there, 0-1.
Well, he was well on his way to having a spectacular career until he was set back with injuries.
Slammed into the wall in center field and was back on the 27th of April. Hyperextended his lower back, also sprained his right ankle during batting practice just a few days before. And those injuries have conspired to ruin the first 2 months of his season. So he's hitting about 40 points below his career average. And the off-speed pitch, 0-2.
It's a nice curveball. I'll tell you, it's nice to watch it up here. I'd rather not be standing there trying to hit it. Look at the break on this ball.
Big slow curve.
Oh, And you know, you start out there and you have your nice strides, your hands are back, and what do? You watch it into the catcher's glove. You say, it looked good.
On the outside corner. So Sanders out on strikes.
Last 2 pitches. Right over the top curveball. Off-speed curveball, good pitch. And what's he do here? Comes back with a nasty slider right on the corner, knee high. Reggie's going to say this is not going to be a good day.
Some sliders have huge wide breaks. I mean, if you saw what Kerry Wood was throwing against Houston, the 20 strikeout game, that's a big wide slider. That was a nice tight little break.
That was a nice breaking slider right there. That pitch you're talking about, Kerry Wood he threw one to Billy Spires. It was incredible.
Sean Casey takes strike 1, and the Reds saw Kerry Wood over the weekend. Lost to him on Sunday in Cincinnati 10-1.
It's funny you bring up his slider because Todd Pratt and I were talking about it in the dugout today about that slider he threw to Billy Spires. Looked like it was going to go all the way around the hitter and back out to the pitcher.
That's Green on first with 2 outs. And it's 0-2 to a struggling Sean Casey, who's 0 for his last 21.
The Reds are very high on him, and they should be. When they made the trade with the Indians, Jack McKeon felt Casey was going to do the job for him, and he still thinks he will. And of course, Jack is partial because his son Casey signed Sean Casey.
Indians traded Casey to the Cincinnati Reds for Dave Burba, who was supposed to be the ace of the Red staff this year, but the kid working tonight is going to be their ace for a while. Tomko. Runner goes, pitch taken outside, and Castillo's throw to the shortstop side, and Ordonez got it back to the bag anyway. Good job by Ray Ordonez. Castillo throws out Willie Green. No runs, no hits, nobody left. Middle of the second, first of a doubleheader. New York Mets baseball is brought to you in part by the new Dodge. It's about change. Last of the second, 1-0 Reds. Butch Husky makes an off-speed pitch for a ball.
Here's the way it ended last inning. What a play by Ordonez going to the shortstop side of second base and behind his back making the tag.
Slow chopper foul. Now what happened with Green there? Did his spike come up about 6 inches short of the bag?
Well, it had to because the second base umpire C.B. Buckner was right on top of the play and called Green out. Here's the tight shot of the bag. Now Ordonez is not looking. And he, I guess, made contact before the foot hit the base. Important tag right there. An important missed tag in San Francisco by Carlos Baerga.
Off the fists, Larkin throws out Husky. 4 in a row, retired by Tomko.
You have to talk to Alberto Castillo because in San Francisco, when I told him he made a perfect throw to second base, he said all my throws are like that. Well, he just threw one on the shortstop side of second base, and Ordonez made a fine play and tag on that ball.
So nobody on, 1 man out. Carlos Baerga the batter. Baerga has the average up now to 250. That's hit hard, a base hit for Baerga. First hit for New York. Sanders bobbles the ball, and Baerga's going to get to second. It'll be a single and an error, as Reggie Sanders never did gain control of it, and Carlos Baerga's in scoring position.
Watch the ball jump off Baerga's bat and then watch him go. Gets that ball in right center field, watching it all the way. Now he slows down rounding first, and then he realizes Sanders bobbled the ball, and he cruises into second base. Sanders hustling over, ball hits the heel of the glove and runs up his arm, and Baerga takes advantage of the miscue.
So Baerga at second, and the struggling Bernard Gilkey the batter. Bernard off the disabled list, looking for his first hit since coming back. And to make matters worse for Gilkey, he was tossed from the game on Sunday for arguing with home plate ump Terry Tata over a pitch that clearly did look to be out of the strike zone, but Tata called a third strike on Gilkey. Bernard 1 for 17 since coming back with 10 strikeouts. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Bobby Valentine still talking about that game in San Francisco, and Gilkey was called out on that pitch way off the plate by Wally Bell.
Inside, 2-1. Did I say Terry Taylor? It was Wally Bell who rang him up.
And Bobby was talking about before the game, concerned about Wally Bell's strike zone on that particular day. He said usually he's pretty good umpire calling balls and strikes.
2-1 pitch busts him inside. So now Tomko behind 3-1.
I don't know how uncomfortable it is or how comfortable it is to bat with that brace on his arm.
Ron Hundley said that when he wore one, it didn't really seem to restrict him all that much.
His was much bigger too.
Barry Bonds wears one. And that ball is hit down the left field line. Young to the corner, but it's out of play.
I think Barry Bonds wears that protection because of what Eric Hillman did to him here at Shea Stadium a few years back, hit him in the arm. And it really bothered Barry Bonds with Bernard Gilkey trying to support his left elbow. Probably when you swing and miss is when it really bothers you, because you tend to hyperextend when you swing and miss.
Particularly when you're out in front of an off-speed pitch, which is how he got hurt to begin with. Gilkey batting 6th in this game. Looks at a breaking ball for ball 4. Bernard being dropped down in the order becomes a base runner. 2 on for Alberto Castillo. First walk issued by Tomko.
Usually when you're nursing an injury to your arm, it doesn't hurt as much when you swing the bat and make contact.
Well, Castillo made some big contact in San Francisco.
In his first home run of his major league career. And took all day jogging around the bases. All you can think of is he practiced that home run jog someplace.
Probably for about 25 years. Finally put it to good use in a major league game. And the fastball on the outside corner.
And remember, Alberto Castillo likes to get outside that batter's box with the back foot. That's why a catcher has to patrol that area. If you make a guy adjust while he's at the plate, it's disconcerting.
He's clearly out.
Well, he could argue that the toe area of his foot is touching the line.
It's foul to the right side. They'll reach the seats out of play. 0-2.
Some hitters want to get as far away from the pitcher as they can. They feel that they can catch up with the fastball. So if they were allowed, they would bat behind the catcher. So it's up to the catcher to force the issue with the umpire and make him get in the batter's box. And once you do that, it becomes disconcerting to the hitter. You get a good point right there. You can make an argument where Castillo is standing.
Baerga at second, Gilkey at first with 1 out. Mets down a run here in the second. And the fastball taken for a ball.
When I played in Kansas City, it was up to the leadoff hitter to go up to the batter's box and erase the line. And I'm going to tell you, Brian McRae's dad, Hal McRae, he was so far out of the batter's box, it was incredible. And nobody policed it.
And the breaking ball ripped, a fair ball. Around third is Baerga. He'll score. Gilkey on his way to third. Young comes up with the ball. Gilkey being waved home. The relay throw bobbled by Larkin. A double for Castillo. 2 runs batted in. The Mets are leading by a score of 2-1.
You know, I think Castillo hurt himself. He limped all the way to second base. And Mookie Wilson's calling timeout right now, but here it is. Bambi might reclaim that Bambino nickname as he hits the ball hard down the left field line. And yeah, he's limping right out of the box. Limped all the way to second base. But he's got a double, and he drove in 2 runs, so he will not come out of this ball game. So we'll watch him.
Ray Ordonez the batter now with Castillo in scoring position. Ordonez had an awful road trip at the plate, going 1 for 18, and he fouls it back.
Here's Bambi's swing right down the third baseline, and then coming out of the box, watch this, starts to limp. and cruises into second base.
Can it be a cramp as opposed to a pull?
I guess it could be, but
That's hit hard.
Whoa.
Snagged by Boone. What a circle around that grab by Brett Boone. 2 men away. Castillo goes to third, but now the pitcher, Bobby Jones, will be up.
Batting ninth, number 38, pitcher.
a lot of people, a lot of the baseball experts love this guy's ability defensively, especially. Hard-nosed player. And Ordonez hit this ball hard. One hopper, and look at the play by Brett Boone. And last winter, the Cincinnati Reds had him on the trading block, and nobody was interested because they weren't sure if he would hit anymore.
Bobby Jones hasn't hit at all yet this year. No hits in 11 at-bats, but he's got a run to pick up 90 feet away.
From the chase cam, watch this. Ordonez hits this ball hard. That's what the Mets want him to do, hit it that way, but Boone takes a base hit away from Ordonez.
And that sliced the other way towards the line. Not only over, but it's a foul ball. So Jones making a bid, but this is foul, and it's 0-2. Nothing this year. He does have 9 career runs batted in. He's a 118 lifetime hitter. Last year, almost to this exact date, he went 3 for 4 at Philadelphia. That's off the outside corner, 1-2. That was on the 22nd of May, day the 19th. A couple of doubles, a couple RBIs that game for Bobby. Not much over the course of his career. And the fastball gets him. The side retired. But the Mets take the lead with 2 runs on a Castillo double. End of 2. It's 2-1 New York. On Saturday, June 6th, the heavyweight championship of the world returns to Madison Square Garden as Evander Holyfield faces Henry Akinwande. Tickets on sale now at the Garden box office and all Ticketmaster locations. Well, there are threats of thunderstorms in the area, and it is very, very windy right about now, becoming more and more overcast over the last half hour or so. But Sean Casey, who was at bat when Willie Green was thrown out trying to steal second to end the 7th, back in to lead off for the Reds, and he goes after the first pitch, strike 1.
Oh, you mentioned the injury that Sean Casey sustained early this year in Cincinnati. The surgery repaired 4 bones around his eye and inserted a plate with 5 screws that freed up muscles around the eye to allow normal motion and vision.
Got hit with a ball.
Yeah.
During infield, I believe.
Yeah, he was. It was during. Well, I guess it might have been during batting practice. Somebody hit the ball, hit him right in the eye. That was a thrown ball.
And the 1-1 hit slowly by Erga. Gets him by a step and a half.
Casey will come out of his slump playing for McKeon because McKeon will just keep sending him out there and he'll protect him. If he feels he's going to be overmatched while he's in his slump, he won't play him against a particular pitcher.
But look at his collar. That's a size 22 right now. 0 for his last 22 at bats.
So you'd get rid of him. I know you'd be tough.
Single leg.
Well, let's not forget Willie Mays. What was he?
He was 0 for 20 something until he ran into Warren Spahn.
You'd get rid of him, right? You'd be tough.
Oh, back to rookie leagues. 0-1 to Brett Tomko. I gotta tell McKeon, by the way, it's Brett, not Bert. He spent all of last season calling him Bert. So a couple of Tomko's teammates got together and they got him one of those Bert dolls. Character Bert from Sesame Street, one of your favorites, and put it in his locker. Olerud comes up with it, and there are 2 away.
Right fielder,
So
John
2 out,
Donnelly.
nobody on. New York Mets baseball is brought to you in part by The Dime, the bank that's with you all the way. Howie Rose, Fran Healy, Matt Loughlin back tonight at Shea Stadium for a twilighter. First of 2 against the Reds. John Donnelly got it started and hit one over the wall in left center field. Mets have come back to take a 2-1 lead. And that's a strike to Nunnally, the former Kansas City Royal.
You see Castillo right there take that ball and jerk it up.
And the breaking ball back down to first. Easy inning for Bobby Jones. 3 ground balls retire the Reds in order. 2.5. 2-1 New York. Last of the 3rd inning, nearby LaGuardia Airport. You can probably tell that every once in a while by hearing the planes fly overhead. The pitchers and hitters certainly can. Ryan McRae takes a breaking ball. 1 ball, no strikes to the Met leadoff hitter. McRae lined out to Sean Casey his first time up. Alfonso and Olerud to follow. It's 2-1 New York. And the 3rd baseman Willie Green suspiciously in on the grass at 3rd. 1-1.
You don't see Brian McRae bunt a whole lot for base hits.
One ball, 2 strikes. McRae has good speed.
One of the reasons Rod Carew hit for such a high average, besides being a real good hitter, was he could bunt for base hit.
And McRae pops it up to the infield. Green, the 3rd baseman, makes the catch.
So valuable today for a leadoff hitter to be able to get on base. I'm surprised more guys have not perfected or worked on the art of laying down a ball and beating it out.
Well, McRae's on-base percentage is not awful. In fact, it's pretty good right now. It's at .372 coming in tonight. He's 0 for 2. For a leadoff man, you want to be at least in the .375 range, and the better ones are going to be over .400. Alfonso hits it well to right field, but Nunnally lines it up. So 2 quick outs here in the last of the 3rd. Busy week for the Mets and for us here on Fox Sports New York. This is the first of a 4-game series. We'll have it all for you. And then the Milwaukee Brewers come to town. First trip ever for the Brewers into Shea Stadium. We'll have the Friday and Saturday games for you. Channel 9 will have Sunday afternoon's game. 1-0 to John Olerud as you take a look at the upcoming schedule, brought to you by Delta Airlines. The entire Cincinnati series on Fox Sports New York, and 2 out of 3 against the Brewers. At the knees, 1-1.
Well, one of the problems the Mets have has been the weather, and because of the weather, doubleheaders.
It's line foul. Smack foul behind the plate anyway, 1-2. And there's more where this one came from, particularly in July and August. Mets will have 2 doubleheaders in 3 days in the Midwest.
And the rains caused a doubleheader in San Diego. Unfortunately for the Mets, they played well in both games, but lost both games.
And the fastball gets Olerud.
This kid can pitch.
Tomko gets the Mets in order in the 3rd, and at the end of 3 here at Shea, it's 2-1 New York. New York Mets baseball is brought to you in part by your Tri-State Ford dealers. Expect more, get more. Let your Tri-State quality Ford dealers show you why there's more to afford. 4th inning, Fran Healy, and look what he's brought with him.
A little bit of rain here at Shea Stadium to cool things off, as Barry Larkin steps in and pulls the ball foul down the 3rd base line. 0-1 on the Reds shortstop. He's got 17 RBIs this year, and there's Al Leiter.
He's going to take this personally now. He doesn't like this Rain Man bit, you know. His teammates had started to call him Dustin, as in Hoffman, as in Rain Man, because of all the complications from rain that his starts have been accompanied by. But he had nice weather in San Francisco on Sunday.
He's watching Barry Larkin here in the first game of a doubleheader, the Reds and the Mets. Larkin hits the ball up in the air to right field. Butch Husky makes the grab. 1 down. So 1 man gone here in the top of the 4th inning. The Mets on top of the Reds 2-1. At one time considered the best all-around shortstop maybe in the history of baseball, Barry Larkin, but boy, recently he's got some competition. Alex Rodriguez. How about Nomar Garciaparra?
Rodriguez and Ken Griffey leading the American League in home runs. Ken Griffey Jr., that is.
Mitri Young, the batter, batting .333, takes a ball outside from Bobby Jones.
Say Ken Griffey around the Cincinnati Reds, you think of their hitting coach.
Ken Griffey Sr. Ken Griffey Jr. still calls dad. and talks to him about hitting. Also, Jay Buhner gets information or gets advice from Ken Griffey Sr., who was a good Major League player for the Big Red Machine. Ken Griffey Sr. We're very happy about an incident that took place as Dimitri Young takes down low, 3-0. Somebody asked Ken Griffey Jr., do you know Jackie Robinson's statistics? And he said, no. And the article came out that he wasn't familiar with Jackie Robinson, but it was the statistics he wasn't familiar with. A fly ball to center field, and Brian McRae gets under it and makes the grab. 2 down.
Well, you can get your Subway Series t-shirt even if you don't have a ticket for the sold-out Mets-Yankees series. Go to the Mets website. That's at www.mets.com and get a good look at the t-shirt. And then you'll call 1-800-331-METS if you want to order. T-shirts $25 per, including postage and handling.
And the batter, Ed Taubensee, takes the ball from Bobby Jones. One and 0 on Taubensee. He takes the strike, so it's 1-1 on a big Cincinnati Reds catcher who's batting only .372, 29 RBIs. And Taubensee drives this ball down the right field line. Foul.
Well, coming into today's game, remember Taubensee is 0 for 1 so far against Bobby Jones. He has hammered the Mets in prolific fashion, consistent with what he's done to the rest of the National League this year. Not batting quite that high, 7 out of 15. 375 coming in, but you get the idea. It's been a huge season so far for Taubensee.
Got a nice swing. He takes a ball, so it's 2-2. And to be a left-handed swinging catcher.
Mets won a pennant with 125. Well, he was a backup, Ron Hodges. They've had one. They have one now, Rick Wilkins.
Down low to Taubensee, 3-2. It's raining pretty good here at Shea Stadium.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. I mean, it's sunny all day. Pete Flynn's getting the troops ready. Doesn't he know how to do that about now? That ball might have slipped on Bobby Jones, too.
Occasionally you see that curveball, he'll flip it out of his hands, and it happens, he says, when his body gets out in front of the arm, and when the arm comes around, he can't catch up with the body, and he just flips it.
Well, the last time you asked me about one of these passing showers, I figured 10 minutes at most. And when you asked, it would be over.
What do you think?
I'm not going anywhere near this.
No?
Of course, that was an hour and a half rain delay.
And Bobby Jones just threw a strike to Brett Boone, who flied out his first time up. It's 5:57 here at Shea. Go ahead, take a stand.
By midnight, it'll be bone dry. Nah, this looks like one of those summertime passing showers.
Okay, what do you give it, 10 minutes?
I hope.
Okay, it's 5:57 as Boone takes up high, 1-1.
No playing with that clock either.
I'd like to bet you a shirt. I'd like to get another one of those Mets shirts. How about a game? Want to gamble a little
Come
bit?
on. Yeah.
Okay. You say 10 minutes. Anything over 10 minutes or prior to 10 minutes, I win.
Okay.
You better be right on the money. One and one now on Brett Boone. He takes a strike, so it's 1-2.
Boy, it is pouring. You don't. Sometimes that picture can be a little bit deceptive in terms of the intensity of the rain. It's raining about that hard.
I'm going with the sky. It's bright.
You weren't looking at the lights, were you?
Swung on and missed, so Boone goes down swinging, and that will do it for the Reds. They strand a runner, field to score. We play 3.5, and it's 2-1 New York.
Hey, baseball fans, the subway stops at Shea Stadium this year as the New York Mets try to shut down their crosstown rivals, the New York Yankees.
Check out this t-shirt.
Now you can buy this commemorative Subway Series t-shirt through the special TV offer for just $25, and that includes postage and handling.
Can I keep this t-shirt?
Order your Subway Series t-shirt by calling 1-800-331-METS. Call now.
This copyrighted telecast is authorized under television rights granted by the New York Mets solely for the private, non-commercial use of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the New York Mets and Fox Sports New York is prohibited. Not raining as hard as it was when the inning ended.
They were under shelter.
Could be oh, look at that now.
Okay.
That's pretty promising.
Well, let's see about those 10 minutes.
There's another shirt in my future.
And Butch Husky, it's a high fly ball, deep left field. Young going back on the track, makes the grab. So Butch Husky, long fly ball for out number 1. We're in the bottom of the 4th inning here at Shea Stadium. The Mets 2, the Reds 1.
One thing Butch has not provided that much of this year is power. That ball was up, but it was a little bit in on him from about middle of the plate in. Butch wasn't able to get full extension. Dmitry Young made the catch.
The batter now, Carlos Baerga, batting .256 in his first time up. The ball jumping off his bat, a base hit into center field. He advanced to second base on an error by Reggie Sanders.
It's about stopped, huh? The rain.
6:01.
4 minutes.
Pulled foul. Now keep in mind, you said 10 minutes. I'm taking beyond 10 minutes and before 10 minutes. It better be 10 minutes on the button.
All right, we're halfway home.
Okay. 0-2 on Carlos Baerga. Brett Tomko's pitch is fouled back. I'm talking about Jack McKeon calling Brett Bert. It takes Jack a couple years when you play for him to get your name down to perfection.
What'd he do to yours?
Oh, I'm telling you, he would call you anything.
What can you do to Fran Healy? That's pretty simple. I said pronunciation of the name. Pretty simple. Didn't screw that one up, huh? I'm sure he had some pet names for you, though.
Oh, did he? Here's the 1-2 pitch. Another ball hit hard, but right at the first baseman, Casey. 2 down. Well, in the midst of a conversation, if Jack would be talking to you, he would mess up a name. I'm telling you right now. Sometimes wasn't even close. It was a delight to play for him. You know, as a professional player, when you're in professional ball, you're trying to make the major leagues, you know, a lot of things can bother you if you're in a slump, but he made it easy to come out of it. Bernard Gilkey, the batter, takes outside, 1-0. He would take what you considered a serious problem and de-emphasize it. 1-0 pitch is a strike. 1-1 on Gilkey.
You mean a serious baseball problem?
Yeah. Yeah, you know, if it was something you felt was serious, like, I mean, you're 0 for 20, you feel this is a major problem. And he would make light of it. Pitch upstairs to Gilkey, 2-1. I mean, Jack McKeon's the type of manager who can get himself in trouble with the pitching staff by telling the starting pitcher, if he's left-handed, don't do your throwing today before the game. Wait till during the game. I might need you to pitch to a hitter. Up high, 3-1. That's a mortal sin for modern-day pitchers. But he would send the left-hander out there and he'd tell him, okay, throw in the 6th inning. Guy get up, he throw a few pitches, bring him in the game to get a left-hander out.
Well, he's undecided for Thursday and might use his bullpen.
Popped up foul territory. Taubensee makes the grab for out number 3. So that's it for the Mets here in the bottom of the 4th. They fail to score, and after 4 completed, Shea, 2-1 Mets.
Another tight ball game for the Mets. They have a 2-1 lead as we move to the 5th inning. The Mets pitching staff has the lowest earned run average in the major leagues. It's the offense that is struggling. So I asked Bob Apodaca, the pitching coach, is the pitching staff frustrated with the lack of offense? Is some divisiveness setting in?
I think we're human, and you're not going to be immune from human feelings. And but every team goes through it. Every team goes through hitting woes. Maybe some teams longer than others. But when the offense isn't clicking, it just seems to magnify everything. Magnifies the defense, and magnifies and scrutinizes the pitching. But we just have to realize that we have a couple of hitters that aren't playing, and we're very, very important to our lineup, that we just have to be patient, get them back in the lineup, and maybe have to pitch a little bit better. Right now, we're pitching just good enough to barely lose.
So Bob Apodaca clearly has put the onus on his pitching staff, which has pitched well, but as he said, just well enough to lose. He said we have to shut down the opposition, not shut them out, shut them down. Well, right now, Bobby Jones has the lead. He's got to shut down the Reds in game 1 here, fellas.
All right, Matty, and Willie Green picks up a base hit into right field off Bobby Jones.
Center fielder, Reggie.
How about the National League ERA leaders?
Well, the Mets certainly are that. In fact, that is the best earned run average in the major leagues, with the Atlanta Braves second. And the Mets allowed the fewest home runs in the majors, they and the Houston Astros. But again, when you look at them offensively, the margin for error for these pitchers, you talk about they have to shut down the opposition. It leaves them virtually no margin for error. Bobby Jones has allowed just 2 hits so far. And the leadoff home run to John Nunnally.
Willie Green on first base, nobody out, top of the 5th inning, and the batter, Reggie Sanders, who struck out his first time up. Most unpredictable thing in baseball is the offense. Defense and pitching, you can pretty much count on. Speed, you can count on speed. But that offense, I mean, you can hit balls on the button all day, but they got to drop in. As Reggie Sanders takes a ball 1-0 on the Cincinnati Reds center fielder. He'll be followed by their first baseman, Sean Casey. Seems like 100 years ago when the Reds had the big red machine. Famous scene here at Shea Stadium, Buddy Harrelson and Pete Rose at second base.
Griffey was here. That was back in 1973, and then the Reds would win back-to-back world titles in 75 and 76. Should say the Reds with 2 hits, including a leadoff home run in the ball game by John Nunnally. Giving you the impression they had 3 total a moment ago, but that's Willie Green with a leadoff single here in the 5th, the only hit aside from Nunnally's.
1-0 on Reggie Sanders. He takes a strike, 1-1. By the way, Howie, I owe you a shirt, so you're going to pick out the color.
1-800-331, pardon me, 1-800-331-METS is the number to call to get that catalog for Mets in black and all the other merchandise they have for sale this year.
You'll be going right back into that catalog today. 1-1 pitch, good curveball, but misses. 2-1. There's the Mets merchandise catalog number, 1-800-331-METS. This shirt, you want to pick a shirt now right there, or you go? You want?
I got to peruse. This is a science.
This is getting serious.
We'll sell the whole thing out if it keeps raining this year.
Right off of his hand. Now the ball's in play. Sanders, yeah, Sanders took it right off the hand. Wait a minute, they're going to give him first base. There's a discussion between Bobby Valentine.
Bobby's saying it hit the bat. I thought it hit the bat as well.
Well, you know, he could say he was trying to get out of the way the ball hit his hand.
If you read Bobby Valentine's lips, he says that ball hit the bat. I mean, that ball shot a long way for a ball that might have hit his hand, but the way it's shaking.
Yeah, he could hit the hand.
Of course, he did have the hand on the bat.
But look at the hand. I mean, did he try to get out of the way of the ball? If he tries to get out of the way of the ball and the ball hits his hand while the hand's on the bat, I'm sure it's an interpretation. The umpire has to rule on it. Did he try to get out of the way of this ball?
Well, he's in the process of swinging.
Yeah. I mean, he could have ruled that it was a swing. He must be saying he tried to get out of the way of the ball.
I'm just making the point that he's in the process of swinging and couldn't adjust to try to get out of the way. But if you listen to this, here's the contact.
And what a shot of that hand shaking.
The ball went an awfully long way, though, for it to have simply hit his hand. But
that's why
it just shows you how hard it actually made contact with his hand and why that hand was trembling the way it did. With a naked eye, it looked more like it hit the knob of the bat. And I think that's what Bobby Valentine was protesting at first when he came out of the dugout, but that last shot gave you a pretty good indication of exactly where it hit him on the hand.
And Sean Casey's the batter with runners on first and second and nobody out. Fastball misses outside, 1-0. Can he try to get out of the way of this ball?
But he's loaded up to swing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard at that point, once he's committed to bring the bat around, for him to get out of the way, isn't it?
I mean, if he get hit in the ribs, he get hit with the ball. You know, he's got to get first base. Here's a pop-up down the left field line. Gilkey running a long way. Foul ball. Bernard Gilkey ran a long way for that ball. He's saying to Ordonez, you're running out where I am all the time. Where were you?
Well, that's what makes it a difficult play for Gilkey, more so perhaps than other outfielders who don't play with Ordonez, because Gilkey's got to be aware of Ordonez coming as well. Ordinarily, you would think that's the left fielder's ball all the way, at least to the point where he doesn't have to concern himself with the shortstop. But look how much ground Ray covers there. I mean, he's halfway down the left field line, making it a bit more problematic for Gilkey.
So it's 1-1 on Sean Casey, who grounded out his first time up. Nobody out, top of the fifth. Runners on first and second. Fouled off. So 1-2 on Sean Casey. But the ball that hit Reggie Sanders, if I were the Reds, I'd be concerned that it broke a bone, especially the way that hand was trembling.
It's swollen too, huh?
We've talked about how he's missed a lot of action because of a bad back. Injuries have set his career back. I would have given him first base. He was hit by the pitch.
Very magnanimous of you.
He would have to get
I might have a broken hand.
Well, Bobby Valentine feels that he was not hit by the pitch. There's a bouncer to Jones. The runners advance. He goes to first. So one down. Runners have moved up. They are now on third. Willie Green on third base. Reggie Sanders on second.
It's easy to understand why, with one look at it with a naked eye, Bobby Valentine would think that ball did not make contact with the hand. But the camera shot, the trembling hand, and the continuing pain that Sanders appears to be in is all you need to prove the point. So now, runners at second and third with one out and the pitcher batting.
Brett Tomko batting against Bobby Jones in the key spot. The Reds trailing by 1 run. Tomko last year, his rookie year, won 11 ball games for the Reds. He's got 5 under his belt this year. Swung on and missed. 0-1. Good looking pitcher. Remind you a little bit of Bobby Jones, the way he throws.
See, fastball, best pitch.
0-1 on Tomko. These same two teams will go at it again today. Double dip here at Shea Stadium. We saw Alberto Castillo motioning out to Bobby Jones for another sign. And the 1-2 pitch. Hit off the end of the bat. Jones looks the runner back, flips to first. 2 down, big out.
Right fielder John Nunnally.
Well, from the chase cam angle, you'll see that Brett Tomko pretty much fooled and did not make real good contact. And Bobby Jones, see, falls off in perfect position to make a play on that. Remember, we showed you Al Leiter falling off to the third base side of the mound and losing a chance to get a ball hit up the middle over the weekend in San Francisco. But Jones' follow through there put him in position to be able to get that topper from Tomko, hold the runners, and now go after Nunnally with 2 out.
So John Nunnally, who's 1 for 2, he hit a solo home run in the first inning leading off for the Reds, takes a fastball outside, ball 1. That home run accounting for the only run of the ball game for the Reds. And we were surprised it carried over the fence. And a 1-0 pitch. Foul out of play. It's 1-1 on Nunnally.
Well, here's the home run now that Nunnally hits off of Bobby Jones. Now watch Bobby. Well, he figures he's got a fly ball. He turns around casually, and McRae just ran out of room. Bobby Jones couldn't believe it. He would look out to center field for quite a while after he got the ball back, or a new one anyway, from home plate ump Paul Schreiber.
Runners on second and third. 1-1 pitch. Foul out of play.
When a pitcher is certain that he's given up a home run, he may look down, but he won't turn around and look back. He doesn't even want to see it go over the fence if he knows it.
Well, McRae looked like he was surprised the ball carried that well. And if you just took a look at his swing, the way he hit that ball, you figured it was a fly ball to center field.
McRae looked like he was set to make a catch before his spikes even touched the warning track.
Yeah.
But then he drifted, and I guess about 3 steps altogether. Wound up going over the fence.
Green on third, Sanders on second. 2 outs, top of the 5th. The curveball misses up high. 2 balls and 2 strikes on John Nunnally. Reds, after the doubleheader today, will be here for 2 more games, Wednesday and Thursday. Then those Brewers from Milwaukee make their way to Shea Stadium. First time in their history. 2-2 pitch. Curveball, ground ball, second base. Baerga, Olerud. Jones pitches out of it. Red strand 2, fail to score. We played 4.5 here at Shea, and it's 2-1 Mets. Alberto Castillo will lead it off for the Mets as you look through our robotic camera atop the roof here at Shea Stadium.
Brightening skies.
Rub it in. Alberto Castillo takes down low, ball 1. Just joined us. It was raining here at Shea Stadium. Howie Rose said it was raining in left field, but not in right field.
Well, when it started raining, that's where it was, specifically and exclusively in left field.
Alberto Castillo fouls it off. I noticed that men and women in the truck were very concerned about your eyesight.
I said that'd be the trucks in left field. They knew it was raining. It would be cruel and unusual for it to have rained any longer, given what the Mets have gone through already this year.
There's a strike. 1-2 on Castillo. Castillo doubled his first time up. Bobby Valentine appreciates it because he's been a big supporter of Alberto Castillo for a few years. That double drove in 2 runs. Castillo takes down low, 2-2. But while Castillo was running to second base, he started to limp. Stays in the game, though. To face Brett Tomko here in the bottom of the 5th. Foul out of play. How about Tomko? Last May 27th was his major league debut. Since that time, he's pitched in 27 ball games. And coming into today's action, a total of 16 wins. And the 2-2 pitch. Well, that's a good fastball and got quite a bit of the plate. So that'll do it for Castillo. 1 down.
It's 3 strikeouts now for Brett Tomko as he gets Castillo with a fastball on the inside part of the plate. And, you know, Fran, you were talking about the 16 wins in 27 major league starts. You know how long it's taken to do that in the National League? Steve Rogers was the last to win 16 that quickly, and that was 24 years ago.
Ordonez fouls the ball off. One thing this guy does is he throws strikes. He throws refined strikes. He lives on the corners.
I mean, Ordonez's batting average hovering much too close to the Mendoza line.
Yeah, and he hit the ball hard his first time up. Brett Boone took a base hit away from Ordonez as he fouls that pitch off. 0-2. He could have used that baby his last time up. He stung the ball, hit it to the right side, just the way the Mets want him to do it.
But he hasn't done it. Certainly not often enough. Only 1 for his last 19.
And the 0-2 pitch. Up and off the plate. Ordonez at 206 right now. 11 RBIs. He has scored only 8 runs. Hits the ball hard into center field. So twice today, Ordonez stings the ball.
So for Ray Ordonez, perhaps these first two at-bats against Brett Tomko is something of a start. His only hit on the coast trip was of the bloop variety. That was in San Francisco. This ball was nailed. And he did hit the ball to Brett Boone very hard his first time up, as Fran's been saying. So that's 2 times in a row now Ordonez has made solid contact. And, I mean, that's as significant as anything for him, because during his slump, he wasn't even making good contact, let alone hitting it at someone.
So Ordonez is on first base with 1 out.
Shouldn't put that slump in the past tense just yet either.
The batter now, Bobby Jones. Jones struck out his first time up, so the Reds will be looking for the bunt. Green weighing on the grass at third base. Casey will be charging from first. Although I'll tell you, he didn't charge real well right there. You might want to bunt it to Casey.
And Ordonez picked that up too, because as Casey crept in, I mean, Ordonez was a long way off of first base before he tiptoed back in. Tomko paying a little more attention there, and Casey, of course, on the bag.
And the 1-0 pitch. Jones takes 2-0. So Jones looking down now at Cookie Rojas to get the signs. Jones has been a struggling offensive player so far this year. In fact, he stands among the top 5 for at-bats by pitchers who do not have a hit this season. Squares the bunt and he fouls it off, so it's 2-1 on Bobby Jones.
And again, you saw Casey charging, and the real good jump from Ordonez at first base.
Jones gets the sign from Cookie Rojas. So did Ordonez at first base.
Willie Green very tight at third. Green out of your picture there as the throw came into first base.
Cookie was telling me in San Francisco the one thing that bothers him the most is when he's trying to give a sign to a player at first base and he's having a conversation with the first baseman. He said, you can have a conversation with the first baseman, just don't look at him. You don't have to look him in the eye. Cookie says they have to whistle to the guy. When he looks over, everybody's looking because he just whistled. The 2-1 pitch. Bobby Jones bunts it out in front of the plate. Tomko goes to first. 2 outs. Ordonez moves to second on the sacrifice.
Center fielder Brian McRae.
You know, Bobby Jones hasn't been much of a hitter over his major league career. Again, only a 118 average coming in. But one thing that he's always been able to do, he's led the league a couple of times in this department, is get down a sacrifice bunt. Puts him in position to have helped himself if the next hitter or hitters can deliver. So now it's McRae who will try and pick up Ordonez in scoring position with 2 out. Relatively speaking, the pitchers spend so little time working on their bunting.
And Brian McRae takes a strike. Well, it's up to the pitcher themselves, and also I guess the coach can say go out and work on the bunt. And hitters don't really practice bunting, the everyday players. And the 0-1 pitch. Hard hit ball right field. This will drive Ordonez in. McRae on his way to second base with a stand-up double. So a double and an RBI for Brian McRae. And the Mets have a 3-1 lead here in the first game of a double dip.
So everybody's going to remember Ordonez single and McRae's double, but without Bobby Jones' sacrifice bunt, they probably don't get Ordonez home from first. Ray's not fast. The ball was hit hard into the corner. And if Brett Boone, a solid arm, would have been in position to make a relay throw, maybe you don't get Ordonez if he's running from first base. McRae tattoos that one all the way down towards the right field corner. But again, it was all set up because of the sacrifice bunt perfectly.
Ricardo Alfonso. Tomko looks McRae back to second. Alfonso, in his first start back from the disabled list, is 0 for 2. Flied out both times. Up high with a heater, 1-0 on Alfonso.
Now, you know, Alfonso hits the ball well and often the other way. And the Reds are playing awfully shallow. Reggie Sanders in particular in center field, pretty shallow against Edgardo Alfonso.
Mets happy to have Alfonso back. Now he's going to get his swing back. Down low, 2-0. That's the problem with being on the disabled list. You can take all the batting practice you want, but you got to be out there every day with the adrenaline flowing, adjusting to the break on the breaking ball and the speed of the fastball. No substitute for playing time. That's why it's so difficult to come off the bench and be effective. Two balls and no strikes on Alfonso. He'll be followed by John Olerud. Alfonso fouls it off down the right field line. John Olerud looking on from the on-deck circle. 3-1, Mets on top of the Reds. We're in the bottom of the 5th inning. The Mets have plated 1 here in this inning. Ed Tobbins, he going to give new signs. It looked to me like he might have gotten some signs from the dugout. He looked into the dugout. 2-1 pitch. Line drive, base hit, center field. McRae scores easily. Alfonso with a base hit and an RBI in his first game back from the DL, and it's now 4-1 Mets.
So it took him 3 at bats to get that stroke, huh? That ball hit very well by Alfonso. And again, we mentioned and showed you that Sanders, the center fielder, and Nunnally, the right fielder, were pulled around towards right against Alfonso, so naturally he hits it right on the button towards left center, which meant Sanders had to break the other way, and there was no chance to get Brian McRae, a fast runner, coming around from third. That's a long way for Sanders to have to go for that ball. And so it's now 4-1 New York, and Alfonso has his 13th RBI.
Don Gullett, the pitching coach at the Reds, looking on, concerned about the young right-hander, Brett Tomko. Tomko will now take on John Olerud, who grounded out and struck out in this game. Alfonso with the lead, being held on by Sean Casey. And Olerud drives the ball down the left field line. Foul. Olerud with a good swing, hitting the ball the other way.
Oh, John Olerud gives this one a ride into the left field corner. Pretty well knew that ball was a foul ball. However, Jack McKeon and Don Gullett don't know how much Tomko's got left, so there's help in the bullpen. Just recalled Danny Graves last week.
0-1 on Olerud. Tobbins giving the target on the outside part of the plate, and Olerud takes up high, 1-1. Pulled the string right there. Got Olerud out in front, 1-2.
So Tomko, who throws hard, took a lot off here, and Olerud way out in front. Good off-speed pitch by Tomko.
John Olerud's dad played minor league ball, and his manager was the third base coach at the Reds, Harry Dunlop. And Olerud, base hit in the right field. Alfonso on his way to third. Ball is booted by John Nunnally. And the throw to second, not in time. So a single and an error, and the Mets have 2 runners in scoring position.
Well, it certainly should be an error on Nunnally, who didn't come up with a base hit by Olerud cleanly, and that shows you that John Olerud's groin is feeling a lot better. Remember, earlier in the season, Olerud was wrapped pretty tightly in the groin area because of a strain going back to spring training. And it was very difficult for him to extend himself even from home to first, never mind try to stretch an extra base. And as soon as Nunnally bobbled the ball, Olerud figured he'd take off. The throw came into second base. Cookie Rojas held Alfonso at third, but Olerud picked it up immediately and beat the throw to Barry Larkin. And it is a single and an error on Nunnally.
And the Mets have runners in scoring position with 2 men out. Nunnally not happy with the error, but he got it. Red Foley, the official scorer tonight.
And that's 2 errors that the Reds have made now in the outfield on base hits. One by Sanders, allowing Baerga to go to second. He would later score on Castillo's hit. And now it's Olerud joining Alfonso in scoring position for Husky.
Alfonso on third, Olerud on second. 2 men out. Butch Husky's 0 for 2. Grounds out, he grounded out, and he flied out. He takes a ball. 1-0 on Husky. Husky drives the ball deep left field. Home run! Butch Husky. Oh, did he wallop that one?
Seven to 1 New York. Husky just missed a home run his last time up as he threw out deep to left field, and there was no question about this. This is a laser, a ball up letter high, and Butch was right on it. A line drive home run into the loge seats in left field, and Butch took a nice relaxed tour around the bases as well, savoring his 4th home run of the year. And that's the blow that knocks Brett Tomko out of the ball game.
And that's what they need from Butch Husky. That ball exploded off his bat and got out of the park in a hurry. So Butch Husky driving Tomko out of this ball game, and now it's time for our omni-point call to the bullpen.
It's answered by Danny Graves, but Husky has done the big damage here in the 5th. It's 7 to 1 New York.
Carlos Baerga is the batter. He takes strike 1. 5 runs have been plated by the Mets here in the bottom of the 5th. It's 7-1 Mets. Baerga checks his swing, fouls it off. Baerga in this ball game, as you look at Butch Husky with a 3-run home run, Baerga is 1 for 2.
Well, you want to know what prompts an omni-point call to the bullpen? A laser by Husky right into the omni-point neighborhood. And Danny Graves answered the call.
Inside and low, 1-2 on Carlos Baerga. Now that's the Butch Husky we saw most of last year. That's the guy the Mets need to hit home runs and drive in runs. 1-2 pitch, fouled off. And when you talk to Butch Husky about the month of April, now in his face, you see the frustration. He literally gives up a month of offense, and he has to fight himself out of a hole. Somebody's going to have to come in and work some magic with Butch Husky. You know some magicians, don't you? 1-2 pitch. Bouncer to second. Brett Boone gloves it. Over to first. That'll do it for the Mets. But a big inning here in the bottom of the 5th. They pick up 5 runs. A 3-run home run by that guy. And they have a 7-1 lead, and we'll be back.
Well, things have brightened for the Mets here at Shea Stadium since John Nunnally led off the game for the Cincinnati Reds with a home run off of Bobby Jones, because the Mets answered with 2 in the second and then 5 in the 5th inning. It's now 7-1 New York. And after Bobby Jones' sacrifice bunt for the second out, the Mets answered with 4 consecutive 2-out hits, including Huskies' 3-run homer. Ball 1 now to Barry Larkin leading off the 6th. Well, that's something the Mets were so sorely in need of, too. Of course, offense in any situation from anyone, but 4 straight 2-out hits, never even mind the home run. Those 2-out hits will make a lot of pitchers wealthy.
And the Mets got on top of a guy who's throwing the ball pretty well since being called up to the major leagues last year, Brett Tomko.
1-1 to Larkin. Goes after a breaking ball and pops it up. Carlos Baerga waits. And there's 1 out.
It just gives the team so much more breathing room when you're not always living on the edge when in 1-run games. The pitcher and the catcher can relax. You can call a different game. You can get ahead of the hitters immediately. You don't have to live on the corners. You can get more of the plate. You've got more room for error.
Well, Bobby's got to like what he's seen so far, at least offensively, and absolutely from Bobby Jones, who's allowed only 2 hits. Dimitri Young is 0 for 2. And the fastball, 0-1. Young playing left field, basically, because that's as close as they can come to hiding him defensively. And he pops it up to the right side. Baerga's going to get another shot. And Baerga 2 for 2 in this inning.
It's funny how important a bat is to a team. It will get you in the lineup. If you can hit, you're going to end up in the lineup someplace, sometime. A glove, just a glove, will get you in the lineup, but not as often. They'll find a place for a guy like Butch Husky.
There's an exception.
Yeah, now that's really an exception to the rule.
So 2 out, nobody on. Ed Taubensee flied out, walked. Breaking ball, 1-0 to Taubensee.
Those 2 shots, you saw Husky and you saw Ordonez. Husky get in the lineup because of his bat, but he's improved dramatically as a defensive player.
Right back up the middle, and Ordonez had him played perfectly. Again, the Mets against the left-hand batter, and we showed you earlier in the game, Ordonez stationed almost behind the bag, and this time it paid off. We go to the last half of the 6th inning here at Shea Stadium. Our Jeep Eagle game summary started with an entry by the Reds. A John Nunnally home run, first batter in the game against Bobby Jones. Castillo put the Mets in front with his double. Brian McRae added to the lead, and Butch Husky, if he didn't blow it open, he certainly gave the Mets a very comfortable cushion as they take a 7-1 lead into the last of the 6th inning. And a new right fielder for the Cincinnati Reds, as Chris Steins has replaced John Nunnally in right field. Or pardon me, has Nunnally moved over? There's Steins. Nunnally is, that's Nunnally in right field, yep. Or Nunnally in left, pardon me. Steins is in right. And out of the ball game is Dimitri Young. One and 0 to Bernard Gilkey. And Willie Green up with it. Low throw, and Casey digs it out. So 1 out and nobody on. Dimitri Young in left field. Let's just get that Reds defensive alignment for you right. It's Dimitri Young in left field. Nunnally moves to center, so it's Reggie Sanders who comes out of the game.
He could hit in the hand.
Yeah, because of the hand injury, and Chris Steins in right field. So 1 out. Alberto Castillo drove in 2 with his 2nd inning double. Was caught looking in the 5th.
Kind of surprised he's still in the ball game the way he limped after hitting that double.
And he pops it up to the right side. Brett Boone waits, and there were 2 away. So Danny Graves retired Baerga to end the 5th inning. He's picked up the first 2 outs here. Castillo's still limping a little bit, so it appeared.
Of course, when you don't get a chance to play every day, when you finally do, you're not going to come out of the lineup. unless the leg is broken. Oh, see what Ordonez does now. He hit the ball hard twice in this ball game.
Brett Boone made a nice play to throw him out in the second, but then Ordonez wound up with a base hit in the fifth, came around to score.
The way Ray Ordonez has been struggling, it's just an indication of what Bobby Valentine thinks of his glove. If he was an average defensive shortstop, probably wouldn't see as much action at shortstop. Probably wouldn't see everyday action. Bobby Valentine thinks the world of Ordonez's glove like everybody else, and you don't want to take him out of the lineup because his defense is his offense.
In the hole, Larkin. And Casey with a nice pick. So Danny Graves has retired all 4 Mets with help there from Larkin. 6 in the books, game 1 of a twilight doubleheader. All New York so far. Brett Boone leads off, goes after the first pitch from Bobby Jones, and Brian McRae lines it up. 1 gone in the 7th, and let's take a look at our Aflac trivia question for the first game of this doubleheader.
Pete Rose had 9 200-hit seasons with the Reds. Who was the second most in Cincinnati history?
Well, it's not Willie Green who's at bat now.
How about Ken Griffey Sr.?
Yeah, he had a couple of seasons where he hit about 320, 330. Did Joe Morgan have 200 hits? I don't know. He had 2 straight most valuable players. 0-2 to Green. Morgan won the MVP in 75 and 76, if I'm not mistaken. Back-to-back MVPs as the Reds won back-to-back World Series.
I bet you it's Griffey.
We talking shirts again? 0-2 for Green.
If I lose this, I'm going down, blow up the truck. This is another setup. Bet him some more.
Hard not to think about Morgan with those 2 MVP seasons, hitting well over 300 both years.
You're going away from Griffey. Are they talking to your ear right now?
And the breaking ball gets Green. So for Bobby Jones, his 3rd strikeout. 2 gone in the 7th.
Well, Bobby Jones pitched a fine ball game in San Diego about a week ago, and now once again getting the curveball over, the fastball in good spots, and handling the Reds in this ball game. His competition tonight, Brett Tomko, left the ball game. He gave up the most runs he has ever given up in his short lifetime career.
Ball 1 to Chris Steins. Steins batting in Reggie Sanders' spot in the batting order. Sanders leaving after having been hit by the pitch in the 5th inning. Did stay in the game for another inning and a half, though.
And you mentioned Baerga replaced by Luis Lopez. Baerga will probably play in the 2nd game. Here's what happened to Reggie Sanders back in the 5th inning. Hit right on the hand by that pitch from Bobby Jones. There was no room for that ball to hit the bat.
And that's on the outside corner. 2-2 now to Steins. Steins got off to a fabulous start for the Reds this year.
We were talking about the importance of Ray Ordonez defensively still in the ball game.
And Alfonso has time to set. Another 1-2-3 inning. Bobby Jones has now retired 9 in a row, dating back to that Reggie Sanders hit batsman. New York Mets baseball is brought to you in part by Nissan, who remind you that life is a journey. Enjoy the ride. Last of the 7th, 7-1 New York. Bobby Jones, with those 7 runs in his hip pocket and the 6-run lead, takes a strike from Danny Graves. Graves born in Saigon, Vietnam. Gets that one down to first. Sean Casey takes it himself. Graves was born in Vietnam. Shortly after the ceasefire, they stopped the hostilities, end of January, beginning of February 1973. And Graves was born in August. of that year. Grew up in Ohio. And the Reds got him from the Cleveland Indians, a deal that sent John Smiley along with fielder Jeff Branson to Cleveland. Brian McRae, who had a run-scoring double in the 5th, fouls the first pitch back.
Now they say managers are managing a couple of innings ahead of the ball game, and right now Jack McKeon and Bobby Valentine know their lineups for the second game. Sometimes they make alterations. They usually know the lineup prior to the first game for both games.
Well, Jack McKeon may have to do some improvising later in the week. Originally, the plan was to start Mike Remlinger on Thursday night, but he strained his groin one of the games against the Cubs this weekend and may have to miss the start. McKeon says he may give the whole start to the bullpen. Larkin charges. That ball had a lot of action on it, but he throws McRae out.
We talked about Ray Ordonez as a shortstop. Barry Larkin, very good. Maybe a step shorter than Ordonez defensively, but he's one of the best in the game. McRae gets jammed here. Larkin charges this ball and short arms it to first base. Now, Larkin's the type of guy, as you watch him make that play, you like to keep him in both games because of his bat.
Question is, can his back, his surgically repaired neck, withstand that kind of afternoon and evening as Alfonso takes ball 1.
Now, we talked about Ordonez. The Mets feel his defense is like an offense because it saves runs. Instead of driving them in, he saves runs, keeps that ball in the infield.
Barry Larkin again, and the side retired. So Danny Graves has retired all 7 Mets that he's faced with a lot of help from Larkin, who's thrown out 3 of them. All right, we go to the 8th inning. The Mets with a 7-1 lead. Now we talked about Joe Morgan, who won a couple of MVPs same time that Pete was in that streak of 200-hit seasons. You had Vada Pinson and Frank Robinson with that 1960 pennant-winning team.
You have to wonder about Vada Pinson because he could fly. How about Vada Pinson? But these guys downstairs telling us to go with King Griffey Jr. and Joe Morgan.
Sean Casey goes the other way. And Bernard Gilkey puts it away. 10 in a row now, retired by Bobby Jones. Mets have also made a change defensively for the 2nd straight inning, as Rich Becker has gone into center field, replacing Brian McRae.
You wonder how a starting pitcher would like it as you look at Rich Becker if Bobby Valentine decided halfway through the game, maybe I'll rest Ray Ordonez for the 2nd game. The starting pitcher might have a fist fight with the manager in the dugout.
As long as he could be reasonably assured he's going to get enough offense. Lenny Harris, the pinch hitter for Danny Graves. 1-0 to Lenny Harris.
Oh, Bobby Jones with another good outing in the first game of this doubleheader.
Boy, you know what? Speaking of Lenny Harris, who's facing Jones right now, Butch Husky couldn't say enough nice things about Harris. Remember earlier in the year, we showed you Harris in the Reds dugout giving Butch the business when
right
Butch
here
was slumping, at Shea Stadium in April, all the way back to April. And I asked Butch about that, and I know Matty Loughlin spoke to him about it too. I said, well, you guys don't seem to have anything in common in terms of your career path, where you grew up or anything like that. 3-1 to Harris. And Butch said, no, he said, when I first came to the big leagues, Lenny Harris just went out of his way to be nice to me and to strike up a friendship. And Butch said he's a very special person. And Cincinnati Reds get a little something out of Harris right there as he sneaks one by Olerud. And now Husky comes up with the ball, but he has no chance to throw Harris out. So it's a pinch double for Lenny Harris. Only the 3rd hit for the Reds off of Bobby Jones.
Harris hits this ball right down the line, and he can fly. Ball right down the right field line into the corner, and Harris gets out of that batter's box. He had triple on his mind. Harry Dunlap, the 3rd base coach, had to hold him up as he approached 2nd base. John Olerud taking a spill when he attempted to field that ball.
So here's Nunnally fouling the first pitch back. Home run, a couple of ground outs. That's with 7 runs, 7 hits, no errors. Reds a run on 3 hits. They've made 2 errors in the outfield. Nunnally 1, Sanders 1. serve the other way. And Jones in front, 0-2. This is game one of a twilight doubleheader. In the nightcap, Brian Bohannon, who's pitched very well for New York this year, will face Scott Winchester for the Cincinnati Reds. Bobby Jones just hit the century mark in terms of his pitch count. Harris at second. And the breaking ball gets Nunnally.
Well, he's had a good curveball throughout this ball game. When he would miss with the curveball, he would miss in a location that they couldn't take advantage of it. But when he throws it and it's on, look at the break on this ball right out of the strike zone. Another look at Nunnally chasing that ball. Nunnally hit a home run, but it was on a fastball.
Now it's Larkin, who's 0 for 3. Mentioned earlier how Larkin went in to look at some video last week during a rain delay when he was in the throes of a 2 for 44 batting slump. Well, he decided, looking at the video, that he'd open his stance so he could see the ball better, raise his hands, and he's been hot ever since. Hits that one well. Deep right field, Husky to the wall. That's a gunner. So Larkin keeps his hot hitting going with his third home run of the year. Now has 19 RBIs, and the Met lead is reduced to 7-3. So it was as simple as all that. Open the stance, raise the hands a bit, and now Larkin is Larkin again.
Well, Bobby Jones has been in control throughout the game. Here he challenges Larkin with a fastball on the outer part of the plate, and Larkin hits a home run the other way. Years ago, you rarely saw players hitting home runs the other way.
Well, the one by Nunnally in the first inning was hit to left center, and that one hit to right field by Larkin.
And especially here at Shea Stadium, this was never really considered a home run hitter's ballpark. But Larkin hit that ball hard over the right field wall.
Bounced foul, 1-2. And that gets Turk Wendell up in the Mets bullpen. There's Turk, who's celebrating birthday number 31 today. It'll be a 1-2 to Dimitri Young, and the breaking ball wasted. I mean, he just did get a piece of it.
Good pitch to Dimitri Young. Same pitch that Nunnally swung and missed. Bobby Jones featuring that real good curveball. It was such a big break, it bounced, and Dimitri Young chased it.
And that's hit deep to right field. Down the line, if it's fair, it's gone. But it's a foul ball.
You know, you saw him chase the bad breaking ball, and you just saw him crush a fastball. With that in mind, breaking ball.
Especially ahead of the count now, 1-2.
Instant replay on the fastball, even though it was a foul ball. Good swing, and Dimitri Young crushed it into the green seats. Just foul. Hook 'em.
And the fastball inside and low, 2-2. Bobby's not getting ready for the anthem. It was just a net or a fly of some sort.
Oh.
And the hook outside. So a full count to what could be Bobby Jones' last batter of the night, Dimitri Young.
That curveball slipping out of Bobby Jones's hand.
Ball 4. Well, we'll see what happens now. Wendell had been throwing in the bullpen, but Bob Apodaca is coming out to the mound. No indication immediately from Apodaca as to whether or not Bobby Jones is through. It was his third walk issued. Ed Toppensy, a left-hand hitter, coming up.
And Bobby Apodaca going out to find out how Jones feels, whether or not he can continue on. And Bobby Jones really hasn't closed out many of his starts. They usually go to the bullpen.
Well, it doesn't figure he would take him out now because Dennis Cook just got up, and with a left-hand batter in Taubensee scheduled.
He's asking Castillo, how's he throwing to get him out? And when the pitcher is looking you right in the eyeballs, you got to tell the pitching coach he can still get him out. If you're going to rupture a relationship if the pitcher wants to stay in the game and you turn to the pitching coach and give him one of those lines out of Bull Durham.
Greg McMichael now has replaced Turk Windle alongside Dennis Cook. Strike one to Taubensee. 0 for 2 with a walk.
And Taubensee, one of the hottest hitters in the National League, leading the league coming into tonight's action. And he can hit the long ball.
And he hits it well to left field. That chases Gilkey just in front of the warning track, but the side's retired. Reds pick up 2 on Barry Larkin's home run. They lead 1, middle of the 8th, 7-3 New York. Mets take a 7-3 lead into the last of the 8th inning. Lenny Harris, who pinch hit and doubled against Bobby Jones, stays in the ball game. Harris now in left field. Dimitri Young comes out to make room for the 3rd Cincinnati pitcher of the game. Montreal Expo throws ball 1 to John Olerud. Olerud, Husky, and Luis Lopez scheduled for the Mets here in the 8th. That's a strike, 1-1. Brett Tomko started, went 4 2/3, gave up 7 runs on 6 hits. Danny Graves came on to relieve him and was perfect, retiring all 7 men that he faced. 1-2 now to Olerud. Gabe White certainly had his problems this year. Made 3 starts, 1 against the Mets in Cincinnati. And he strikes out John Olerud.
A nasty pitch right there to John Olerud. Olerud chasing the ball as it ran off.
Right fielder Butch Husky.
And Bobby Jones sitting next to Alberto Castillo in the Met dugout. He's all done, shaking hands. So the Mets will go to the bullpen and bring in some help for Bobby Jones. He pitched a fine ball game.
Butch Husky had the big blow, a 3-run home run, which effectively broke it open. That was in the 5th inning, the 4th of 4 consecutive 2-out hits the Mets had.
He just missed a home run earlier in the game. Ball beat him inside. He crushed the home run.
And he hits that one the other way for a base hit. So Butch 2 for 4.
That ball was hit right there. It was hit hard to right field, but the ball he crushed is our Coors Light play of the day. Watch this ball jump off his bat over the Omni-Point sign here at Shea Stadium. So Butch Husky crushing that ball.
Butch the team leader with 21 runs batted in. Luis Lopez up for the first time as he replaced Carlos Baerga defensively in the 7th inning. Carlos went 1 for 3. 0-1 to Luis. Lopez had 3 hits in Saturday's win at Candlestick Park against the Giants. The only game the Mets won of the 3 played at San Francisco. And a fastball, 0-2 to Lopez. Bernard Gilkey still trying to get going offensively, waits on deck.
Well, the man at first base, if he can get hot, the pitchers for the Mets will have a little breathing room. One swing of the bat, like in this game today, puts 3 runs on the scoreboard. And it's a different atmosphere when you go out there to pitch with some runs behind you.
0-2 to Lopez is hit in the air to short left. Lenny Harris in company from John Nunnally, but Harris makes the catch for the second out.
Left fielder,
The Mets pitching staff started the game today with a major league leading 3.08 ERA. They've pitched under pressure most of the year so far. Very few runs, very few hits.
Mets scored some runs on the last homestand when they faced Arizona and St. Louis, but reverted to their offensive struggles on the West Coast when they won just 2 out of 7.
When you look at that West Coast trip, they could have reversed that record out there with some hitting.
Gilkey still looking for his first hit since coming off the DL. He's 1 for 19 since, and in a 1 for 23 slump overall. His average has dropped down to 258. Remember, he doesn't have a home run yet. Bernard with 9 runs batted in. And Bobby Valentine dropped him down to the 6th spot in the batting order for this game. Willie Green short hops Boone, and he held on. A lot of Willie Green's throws have been adventurous, but Brett Boone with a nice pick gets the Reds out of any further damage, so we go to the 9th. New York Mets baseball is brought to you in part by your Tri-State GMC dealer. It rained very briefly during this first game of our twilight doubleheader at Shea Stadium, but the Mets trying to close out a Game 1 victory as we go to the 9th inning. It's 7-3 New York, and Greg McMichael will come on to relieve Bobby Jones. And once again, Bobby with a solid start following up a strong performance in San Diego.
Yeah, that's uplifting for the Mets, having Bobby Jones back-to-back good starts, throwing good strikes, and today had a real good curveball.
So Greg McMichael, not in a save situation with a 4-run lead, will face Brett Boone, Willie Green, and Chris Steins here in the 9th inning. Really, it's 3 good starts now for Bobby Jones. The one against Arizona prior to the San Diego game. As Boone bunts, McMichael up with it, 1 man away. The start against Arizona was on its way to being a pretty good one, but then the rain came, and Bobby Jones was done for the rest of that night.
And Brett Boone right there trying to bunt for a base hit. It's great when it works, and when you're thrown out at first base, you second guess yourself for the next 5 minutes. Boone gets his ball down third baseline. He's got a base hit. Greg McMichael coming off the mound in a hurry and throwing Boone out at first base.
So Willie Green 1 for 2 with a walk. 0-1 to the Reds' third baseman. John Franco is starting to loosen up in the Mets bullpen just in case. 1-1 to Green. And John picked up the save on Saturday. And Willie Green fouls it off. Franco with that save on Saturday, now tied with former Mets reliever Jeff Reardon for 3rd all-time with 367. Jeff Reardon, Neil Allen came up together. Looked like the Mets would be setting the bullpen for a long time. And Green is hit by McMichael.
Looked like he lost that ball. It's been a tough ball game for the Cincinnati Reds. They lost Reggie Sanders, and now Green gets hit on the elbow.
Right fielder Chris
Steins.
Steins.
Doing that very often. He usually has pretty good control. Plus, he doesn't throw that hard. Watch Green's reaction. It looked like he lost that ball, or I mean, there's no way if he's going to try to get hit, he's going to get hit, trying to get hit with the elbow. You know what? He didn't try to get out of the way of that ball.
I don't know if that's intentional or not, but I don't think he had any idea how close that ball was to his arm. He's still ready to hit here.
He must have lost it. Had to lose that ball, because you're not going to stick your elbow in the way of a thrown baseball to get on first.
And a fastball to Chris Steins, 1-0. Willie Green's had all kinds of throwing problems anyway, so getting plunked on the elbow might not matter a whole lot. Some of his throws have been downright adventurous. Even the one that ended the 8th inning when he short hopped Brett Boone at second base.
I know you mentioned it as a short hop. That was a legitimate, true hop. It wasn't even a short hop. That was a bounce ball to second base. It was a nice play by Brett Boone.
And the fastball to Steins, 1-2. That's not holding against Green with a 4-run lead. John Olerud, the first baseman, playing well behind the base runner. And that's fouled away. Still 1-2. Talk about Steins getting off to a real good start. For about the first month of the season, he was among the team leaders in home runs. He had 4, and he had 4 RBIs. The only runs he had driven in were on his own solo home runs. Hasn't exactly exploded since then either. He has 5 homers, 10 RBIs. And that is just off the outside corner. 2-2.
A lot of umpires here at Shea Stadium, and that was off the plate.
Pop foul. That'll reach the field level. Todd Pratt feeling a little bit better. Talked to him before the game briefly.
Yeah, Todd on Sunday was over watching David Wells. Of course, he was behind, working out, trying to get back in shape to come off the DL.
And Steins down on strikes, 2 away. First strikeout for Greg McMichael.
First baseman, Sean Casey.
Well, every now and then McMichael will sneak that fastball by a major league hitter. He'll set you up. He'll play with your mind with the off-speed stuff, and all of a sudden he looks like Bob Feller.
Well, he's not going to try and beat out a motorcycle here. He's just going to go after Sean Casey to try and end the first game of this doubleheader. 0-1, the change missed. Casey 0 for his last 24.
But he had some great credentials in the minor leagues, so the Reds, I'm assuming, will stay with him until he comes out of this funk.
0-2, and the Mets a strike away from ending it.
You can see right there in that swing, he just pulled his head right off the ball. He had to lose sight of it.
Of course, anything sight-related has to be a concern right now, because he was hit in the eye.
And I'm sure the Reds are concerned with that. He had major surgery because of the thrown ball that hit him in the eye.
Put it in the books. Casey is out. So are the Reds, and the Mets have won the first game of this twilight doubleheader by the score of 7-3. McMichael strikes out 2 in the inning. His only innings work in relief of Mets starter Bobby Jones. So Jones picks up his 3rd win.
Jack wants to know how much time. How much time do we have between games? Jack wants to go and have a sandwich. Or 2. Or 3. And Butch Husky says, let's stay out here. Let's get it on right now.
That's because Butch had a 3-run home run, his 4th dinger of the year, as he went 2 for 4, helping the Mets to a 7-3 win. So they have taken 4 out of 6 so far from the Reds this year. And get this homestand off to a good start. Lots more to come, including the second game. Matt Loughlin will chat between games with Met GM Steve Phillips. So don't go away. We're coming right back. Mets win the opener 7-3 over the Reds. Mets broke it up with a 5-run 5th inning. Butch Husky had a 3-run home run. Bobby Jones 8 strong innings as the Mets beat Brett Tomko And in the second game, the Mets will send left-hander Brian Bohannon to the mound. He'll be opposed by right-hander Scott Winchester for Jack McKeon's Cincinnati Reds.
And a big thing right there, Jones 3-3 in the season, and he's pitched 2 ball games back-to-back. Very good pitching performances by Bobby Jones, getting all of his pitches over.
Back no longer a problem, not much of a concern. When you say no longer a problem, I guess when you have a back injury of any sort, it's always on your mind. And you probably always recognize it to an extent, but or to a, to some level, but not where it's debilitated him or prevented him even from coming close to pitching in any way.
You'll forget the back problem for a little while, but the back will remind you of the problem periodically. Back spasms come and go.
Second game of this doubleheader is scheduled to begin at 7:50. That is 10 minutes before 8 o'clock, which means that we're actually pretty well on track now for a normal weeknight start at Shea Stadium. Usually they throw the first pitch about 7:42. And so again, the first pitch of game 2 scheduled for just about 7:50, or roughly 20 minutes from now. And don't forget, there are 2 more games coming up this week with Cincinnati. We'll have the whole series for you here on Fox Sports New York. Dave Malicki and Pete Hornish tomorrow. Masato Yoshii faces a pitcher still undetermined by Jack McKeon in Thursday's game. Right now, Matt Loughlin is standing by with the general manager of the New York Mets. So let's go downstairs to Matty and Steve Phillips. Gentlemen.
All right, Howie, thank you very much. We actually spoke with Steve Phillips prior to the start of game 1. Of course, Steve, under the gun over the last few days, particularly about making a deal in order to bolster the Mets offense. They came off that 2-5 road trip in which they scored just 16 runs tonight. Of course, in game 1 of this twin bill, the offense okay as they explode for 7 runs, 5 in that 5th inning, and they have the 8 hits and they win the first game. But obviously the pressure's on. This team has solid pitching, lowest earned run average in the major leagues, but they're just not hitting the ball. So in speaking with Phillips, we talked about trade possibilities. And of course, the one big name out there moved from L.A. to Florida over the weekend. The general thinking is Piazza's not long for the Marlins. Have you had talks with Dave Dombrowski? And is it possible that at some point Mike Piazza might be wearing a Met uniform?
Well, I have talked to David. In fact, I talked to him the day they were going to announce the deal, waiting for Gary Sheffield to sign off on it. And I think they were going to regroup, go home, and kind of wait and see what would happen with Piazza. They weren't rushing to make a deal. For us, Piazza creates some problems in that we have probably one of the top 3 catchers in the game in Todd Hundley. Piazza has stated he'd like to be a catcher still, and if we acquired him, we'd have to consider moving one of those guys to first base. I think Todd Hundley would prefer to be a catcher as well, too. And the issue becomes trading away chips or assets that you have to try to improve your team, to make another deal, and bringing in Mike Piazza, which duplicates probably one of our biggest strengths, having an offensive catcher. So, that's the thing we've obviously had to evaluate and look at. And at this point, I think it's probably unlikely that Piazza ends up in a Met uniform.
But isn't that a good problem to have and try to figure out where one guy goes? Isn't it good to have maybe too much offense?
Well, it's you never have enough offense. The issue is, how do you get them all in the lineup? And how do you play them? How do you keep them happy? And if you don't keep them happy, then what have you given away and not have it work out? So, those are all things we have to evaluate and weigh and consider when making acquisitions and how we're piecing the team together. And, no decisions made in a vacuum. There are aspects of or tentacles to every decision that you have to consider. And certainly a Piazza acquisition would have quite a few tentacles.
The team's pitching, well documented, lowest ERA in the National League, doing the job. Has the pressure therefore increased on you as the offensive struggles have gone on? Are you feeling a little heat in the pit of your stomach?
Well, I've obviously we'd like to add some offense. I think that the problem is we've been motivated buyers of offense since the season began, and knowing that we had pitching depth and we're willing to talk to people. I think that finding the match has been the difficult thing, and so our motivation hasn't really changed. In order to make a deal, you have to find somebody willing to sit down and do it with you, so that part of it hasn't changed. I think certainly we're glad to get healthy again. We've been begging more for good health than anything else, and it takes a little bit of pressure off to have to get something done, getting everybody back in the lineup.
what's the message to Mets fans who are saying you've got to pull the trigger, you've got to bring some more offense here?
Well, I think it's clear we're not sitting on our hands. I mean, we're dialing the phone, talking to different teams, looking to try to find a way to improve our club, whatever way, even if it's to add another pitcher, a better pitcher in some way. So, you know, we're making the calls and doing the things we need to do, and we still believe we have a playoff caliber club. We're glad to get healthy. We're anxious for Todd to get back, and we're anxious to talk to teams, see if we can make another deal.
If it's unlikely that Piazza will be here, what's the likelihood that a trade with some other club might get done? Are you close on anything?
Well, I don't think anything's imminent. I think that we're talking to teams and people are considering. The difficulty's been when I make proposals, I don't get, no, we wouldn't do that, but we would do this. I get, no, we'll think about it. And just the timing is not such that teams are motivated right now to make a deal, it seems. So, you know, we'll keep working the phones and grinding it out and see what we can do.
Well, on the All-Star ballot, one fan has spoken, crossing out Dodgers underneath Mike Piazza's name and inserting Mets. And, of course, all Mets fans certainly would like to have his offense in the lineup. Somewhat disappointing to hear Steve Phillips say that in all likelihood it would not happen. It is a good problem to have. You can find some way to get the offense in. The Mets want to go with what they have. They're happy to finally start to get healthy. They're hoping that it can develop into something, but a big bopper would go a long way to aiding that pitching staff, which so far has kept the lid on its emotions regarding the lack of support that they've received this year. Although tonight, the support was more than enough in Game 1 as they win 7-3. Up next, Bill Daughtry at the Sports Desk.
Bill Daughtry at the Sports Desk. Mets put one in the win column. They take the opener against Cincinnati 7-3. Let's take a look at the highlights of tonight's first game of the doubleheader out at Shea Stadium. Bobby Valentine, leader of those men in black. John Nunnally, he's the leader of the Cincinnati Reds, at least offensively to start this game. He gets the good wood off Bobby Jones to lead this contest off over the center field wall. 1-0 Reds. Move to the bottom of the second now. Mets with 2 on. Alberto Castillo at the plate. Who says he's a light hitter? How about this double down the left field line? That's off Brett Tomko, the Red starter. Carlos Baerga scores. Bernard Gilkey scores. The Mets have a 2-1 lead early in this ball game. Mets would add on in the 5th inning. Edgardo Alfonso back from the DL in the Mets lineup with a base hit off Tomko to center field. Brian McRae will come home. New York extends their lead to 4-1. But Butch Husky, who got robbed by the rain earlier, well, I tell you what, 2 batters later, he gets the good wood. This one into the left field seats. That's the mezzanine. 3-run homer, his 4th of the year. Mets with a 7-run lead. Move to the top of the 8th now, 7-3. Barry Larkin, that's what he's going to make it with this home run going against traffic. His 3rd of the year. It makes it 7-3. Mets still holding on to the lead. To the bullpen now in the 9th inning. Greg McMichael on, facing the rookie Sean Casey. Have a seat, Mr. Casey. Tag him out, please, Alberto. This ball game is over. New York Mets take the opener 7-3. Early games tonight in the National League. Houston and Montreal. Pete Schurik, the ex-Met, going against Carlos Perez. Game scoreless in the 2nd inning. St. Louis going against Philadelphia down at the Vet. It'll be Mark McGwire looking for a league-leading 18th homer at some point in that game. Pet Kysek and Green, your starters there. Pittsburgh and San Diego also scoreless. Hamilton and Silva with the ball in the 2nd inning at Three Rivers Stadium. Well, the New York Yankees, they're just about ready to get underway at the stadium tonight. It'll be David Cone for the New York Yankees against the Baltimore Orioles. Orioles come to town. They have lost 5 straight games. Doug Johns gets the start for Baltimore. The Orioles begin the night 11 games out of first place in that American League's Eastern Division. Take a look now at tonight's American League scoreboard. Jason Barea, the Miracle Man, Brett Saberhagen scoreless. Boston and Chicago in the 2nd. Jose Canseco is homered for the Blue Jays. They lead Tampa Bay 2-0. One other American League score? No, we'll have them for you later. Right now, let's take this commercial break on the Fox Sports Network.
We welcome you back to Shea Stadium as we take a look at the sun setting out west. The Mets playing Game 2 of their twin bill against the Cincinnati Reds. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Matt Lachlan. The Mets victorious in Game 1 as they support Bobby Jones tonight, and they come up with the 7-3 victory. They put 5 runs on the board in the 5th inning when they bunched 5 of their 8 hits against Brett Tomko, and they come away with the 7-3 victory. So the Mets, with the victory, go 2 games over 500, and they get this 7-game homestand off to a pretty good start. Bobby Jones picks up the win, now 3-3 on the season. He went 8 innings, gave up 4 hits, 3 runs. Greg McMichael came on to pitch in the 9th and support the Mets in their effort tonight. As for Edgardo Alfonzo, he was the story earlier today as he rejoins the team after a stay on the 15-day disabled list. In that 5th inning, he had a base hit, the single to center field that drove home Brian McRae for Alfonzo in his return, 1 for 4. As I mentioned, the Mets with 8 hits. Butch Husky had a pair of hits, including a home run, his 4th of the season, that took about 2.4 seconds to get out of here. It was a line drive shot as we take a look at it in the 5th inning off of Tomko, who tried to go inside with the fastball. As quickly as it came in, it went out as the Mets opened things up there in the 5th and cruised to the victory by a score of 7-3. So they'll try to make it back-to-back victories and sweep this doubleheader. Of course, last Thursday they were swept by San Diego, so maybe with some home cooking on their side, they'll be able to come up with the sweep tonight over Cincinnati. When we come back, we will rejoin Howie Rose and Fran Healy. They are, of course, on the call of game number 2. We'll be back to Shea after this.
Welcome back to Shea Stadium. I'm Howie Rose along with Fran Healy and Matt Loughlin for game 2 of this twilight doubleheader between the New York Mets and the Cincinnati Reds. The Mets winning the opener 7-3. And now they will send Brian Bohannon out in search of a sweep. He'll be opposed by Scott Winchester. And Fran, whether Bohannon has started or relieved, he has been very successful for Bobby Valentine this year, if it's one batter or if it's 15 or 16.
Very important part of a ball club is a pitcher who can go out and be a starting pitcher.
Group picture here, Fran, time out.
Very good group picture.
It's like a barbecue.
If you could be a starting pitcher, a relief pitcher, short man out of the bullpen, long man out of the bullpen, and he can swing the bat. Very valuable player on a ball club.
But Brian Bohannon has, been kind of the 6th starter, if you will. The Mets are going to have more of a need for Bohannon as the season develops because of all the doubleheaders they've got coming up. You know, they've got doubleheaders in the Midwest. We talked about the 2 in 3 days coming in Milwaukee and Chicago. That's in July. Then in August, they've got back-to-back doubleheaders against the St. Louis Cardinals here at Shea Stadium. We've got another one in September against the Houston Astros. So, you know, if things continue to go with starters the way they have, Bohannon's going to find himself getting a few extra starts. So it's Bohannon against Scott Winchester as we get set for game 2 of this twilight doubleheader. The Mets won the first one. They'll look to make it 2 right after these messages.